"Ma'am, you need to put that child down, right now." The security guard's voice echoed through the bright lobby of Children's National Hospital. Jessica Davis stood frozen, her arms wrapped tight around a toddler whose little body curved against her like he'd learned the world wasn't safe. The automatic doors slid open. Michael Brown stormed through, suit wrinkled, tie loose, eyes wild with something that looked like fear but came out as fury. "Where is my son?" Noah whimpered. Jessica's grip tightened. A police officer stepped closer, hand on his radio. "Ma'am, we need you to cooperate." Jessica whispered, barely audible, like a prayer she'd been holding since she walked through those doors. "Please God, don't let them send him back to that crib." Before we go any further, if you've ever been the only person in the room who saw something wrong, and you weren't sure if speaking up would cost you everything, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because what happened in that Washington, D.C. mansion didn't make the news. It almost didn't make it out at all. Michael Brown wasn't just rich. He was D.C. rich. The kind of wealth that puts your name on hospital wings and gets your calls returned by senators. His home sat tucked behind tall iron gates in northwest D.C., with security cameras watching everything, except what mattered most. And what mattered was this: his son Noah was getting more crooked every single day. Not attitude. Not behavior. His body. His little shoulder sat too high. His spine curved harder each week. He cried at night until his voice went hoarse and thin, and somehow the people closest to him acted like it was normal. Michael didn't mean to ignore his boy. Grief had swallowed him whole. His wife, Noah's mother, had died less than a year before in a rainy night accident near Rock Creek Park. Her perfume still lived in the hallway closet. Her favorite gospel playlist was still saved on the kitchen speaker. And every time Noah cried, it sounded like God asking Michael why he was failing the two people he loved most. So he worked later. Took calls during bedtime. Let the staff handle it. The one handling it most was Evelyn Crow, the live-in nanny. Polished. Strict. Proud of her routines. She had rules for everything, including who was allowed near Noah. She treated Jessica like furniture, useful when needed, silent always, replaceable whenever. But Jessica couldn't unsee what she saw. She was a single mother from Southeast D.C., riding the metro before sunrise, praying over grocery lists, trying to keep her lights on and her son's asthma medication paid for. She'd taken this job because the money could change things. She promised herself she'd keep her head down, do the work, stay invisible. Then she heard Noah's cries. Night after night. The kind that didn't sound like tantrums. The kind that sounded like pain. She noticed things other people walked past. Noah never relaxed when you picked him up. He didn't giggle when you lifted him the way toddlers usually do. His body stayed stiff, bracing, like movement itself was dangerous. When he tried to sit, he leaned. When he tried to crawl, he hesitated. Jessica tried to tell Michael once. He shut it down fast, cold, distracted, offended that the maid was questioning his household. Evelyn stood behind him, smiling like she'd won, and warned Jessica to stay in her lane. Then came the day Evelyn left for an appointment, and Noah was finally alone with Jessica. She broke the rules. She carried him upstairs. She laid him down gently and looked closely. That's when she found it. The thing nobody could believe was hiding inside a luxury nursery in a multi-million-dollar home. Noah didn't end up in that hospital by accident. He ended up there because someone inside that mansion kept putting the crib back the same way, night after night, while his little body bent under the weight of what nobody else wanted to see. Jessica's alarm went off at 4:47 a.m. She sat up in the dark of her southeast apartment, listening to her own son's breathing from the next room, steady and safe. She whispered the same thing she whispered every morning before work: just work. Just survive. The drive to Northwest took 40 minutes in the pre-dawn silence. By the time she pulled up to the tall iron gates, the sun was just starting to touch the roofline. She punched in the code Evelyn had given her, and the gates opened without a sound. Inside, the house was too quiet. Jessica moved through the kitchen, wiping down counters that were already spotless, her footsteps soft on the marble floors. Framed photos lined the hallway: Michael's late wife, smiling in a church dress, holding a newborn Noah. A funeral program tucked behind glass. A gospel playlist still saved on the kitchen speaker, untouched for months. Then she heard it. A cry from upstairs. Soft at first. Not a tantrum. Not fussing. Pain. Jessica froze, cloth still in her hand. She looked toward the staircase. The crying didn't stop. It got quieter, like Noah was learning no one was coming. She set the supplies down and moved up the stairs, her heart beating harder with every step. The nursery door was cracked open. Jessica pushed it gently and stepped inside. Noah sat in the corner of his crib, his little body stiff, leaning to one side like his spine couldn't hold him straight. His shoulder sat too high. His face was red from crying. And on his thigh, a dark bruise, almost like a pressure mark. Jessica's breath caught. She knelt down slowly, instinctively, reaching through the crib bars. "Hey baby, hey, it's okay. Don't touch him." Jessica jumped. Evelyn stood in the doorway, arms crossed, face cold. "You're here to clean, not play nurse." Jessica pulled her hand back, standing slowly. "I just heard him crying. He's fine. I'll handle it." Jessica stepped back, her chest tight. She wanted to say more, but the words stuck in her throat. She nodded and left the room, her hands shaking. Downstairs, Michael appeared briefly, suit already on, phone in hand, eyes distant. He walked past the nursery hallway without even glancing toward the sound of his son's cries. He poured coffee, checked his watch, and left through the side door without a word. Jessica stood alone in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter. She closed her eyes and prayed quietly, desperately, "God, please don't let this baby be ignored." If you've ever been the only one who noticed someone hurting, the only one who stopped when everyone else kept walking, stay with this story. Because caring when it's inconvenient, when it costs you something, when no one else will, that's rare. And it matters. That afternoon, Jessica was changing the linens in the guest room when she heard movement in the nursery. She glanced through the doorway and saw Evelyn leaning over the crib, adjusting something quickly beneath the mattress. Something deliberate, something hidden. Evelyn turned, and their eyes met. She straightened up slowly, her face unreadable. "You didn't see that?" Jessica's stomach dropped. But she nodded. And Evelyn walked past her without another word. The days blurred together in that house. Morning light through tall windows. The hum of the refrigerator. The distant wail of sirens cutting through northwest DC traffic. And underneath it all, Noah's cries, ignored like background noise. Michael moved through the house like a man underwater. He took calls in his office with the door closed. He ate dinner standing up at the kitchen island, eyes on his phone. And every night, when Noah's cries drifted down from the nursery, Michael turned up the volume on the evening news. Capitol Hill coverage, budget debates, anything to drown out the sound of his son needing him. Jessica watched it happen. She saw the way he walked past the nursery without looking. The way he flinched when Noah's name was mentioned. The way grief had carved a space between father and child so wide, neither of them could reach across it anymore. Evelyn controlled everything else. She kept Noah on a rigid schedule, naps at exact times, feedings measured to the minute. When Noah cried, she dismissed it with a wave of her hand. "He wants attention. If you give in, he'll never learn." Jessica couldn't take it anymore. One morning, she found Michael in the kitchen, pouring coffee before another early meeting. She spoke carefully, voice steady. "Mr. Brown, I'm worried about Noah. His posture, something doesn't look right. Maybe a doctor should." Michael's head snapped up. His jaw tightened. "Evelyn handles my son." "I know, but—" "Jessica." His voice went cold. "You're here to clean, not diagnose. Do you understand?" She nodded, her throat tight. "Yes, sir." He walked out. And Jessica stood there, staring at the counter, reminded once again that she could be replaced before lunch if she pushed too hard. But that didn't stop her from noticing. When she went upstairs to tidy the nursery, she saw it again, the way Noah always slept tilted to one side. The way the fitted sheet on his crib was pulled tight on the left corner, like something underneath was lifting it. She ran her hand along the edge, feeling the uneven surface beneath the fabric. Something was in there. Something deliberate. Jessica's phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from her mom, Malik's inhaler running low. "You get paid Friday?" Jessica closed her eyes and leaned against the doorframe. She thought about her son at home, about his medication, about rent, about everything that would fall apart if she lost this job. Her mom's voice echoed in her head, the same thing she'd said since Jessica was a little girl. God sees what people ignore, baby. And he remembers who stayed quiet. Jessica felt trapped. Speak up and lose everything. Stay quiet and watch a child suffer. That evening, Evelyn found her in the hallway, clipboard in hand, her voice crisp and businesslike. I have an appointment tomorrow afternoon. I'll be gone for a few hours. Jessica nodded. Evelyn stepped closer, her eyes sharp. Do not pick him up. Do not go upstairs. Do you understand me? Jessica met her gaze. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn studied her for a long moment, then turned and walked away. But Jessica's hands were already shaking. Because she already knew, she wasn't going to be able to obey. The front door closed with a soft click. Evelyn's heels tapped down the driveway toward her car. The engine started. The gate buzzed open. And then, silence. Jessica stood in the hallway downstairs, dust cloth in her hand, heart pounding in her chest. She waited. Listened. Then Noah's cry broke the quiet. Soft. Tired. Like he'd already given up on anyone hearing him. Jessica dropped the cloth and moved toward the stairs. Her legs felt heavy, like her body knew she was crossing a line she couldn't uncross. But her feet kept moving anyway. She pushed open the nursery door. Noah sat in his crib, body tilted, one shoulder higher than the other, tears streaking his red face. When he saw her, he didn't reach out. He just stared, like he'd learned not to hope for comfort. Jessica's throat tightened. Hey, baby. I got you. She lifted him carefully, and his little body stayed stiff in her arms, braced, like he expected pain. She held him close, rubbing his back gently, feeling the way his spine curved wrong beneath her palm. It's okay, she whispered. I got you. She laid him down on the changing table and turned back to the crib. Something wasn't right. She'd felt it for days. Now she was going to find out what. Jessica pulled back the fitted sheet. Her breath stopped. Underneath the mattress, shoved tight against the left side, was a foam support wedge, thick, deliberate, creating a permanent tilt. The entire crib slanted like a ramp. She lifted the mattress higher. Beneath it, the wooden base had a warped seam, a raised ridge running right where Noah's hip and ribs would press when he slept. Jessica's hands trembled. She looked at Noah's thigh, the dark bruise she'd seen days before. It matched. Exactly. He'd been sleeping on this. Night after night. His tiny body adapting, bending, curving under pressure nobody else wanted to see. Oh my God, she whispered. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and started taking photos. The wedge. The seam. The tilt. Noah's posture. The bruise. Every angle. Every detail. Her vision blurred with tears. She whispered a prayer, voice breaking, God, please let me do the right thing without losing my child too. She saved the photos. Checked them twice. Her mind raced. Who could she call? What could she do? How could she prove this before? A car door slammed outside. Jessica's heart dropped into her stomach. It was too early. Way too early. Footsteps. Sharp. Fast. Coming up the walkway. The front door opened. Jessica. Evelyn's voice cut through the house like a blade. Jessica, where are you? Jessica spun around, phone still in her hand, Noah on her hip. Evelyn stood in the nursery doorway, eyes locked on her, face tight with something that looked like fear dressed up as fury. What are you doing? Jessica's voice shook. I heard him crying. I just wanted to help. You went through his crib. Evelyn's voice dropped, cold and precise. You're interfering. There's a wedge under the mattress. Look his body. Put him down. Now. Jessica didn't move. Evelyn pulled out her phone and made a call, her eyes never leaving Jessica's face. Mr. Brown, you need to come home. Immediately. Michael arrived 15 minutes later, tie loosened, jaw clenched. He walked into the living room like a man already convinced of the verdict. What's going on? Evelyn spoke first, calm and controlled. I came home early and found her going through Noah's things. She picked him up without permission. She's overstepping. Michael's eyes cut to Jessica. Is that true? Jessica's voice cracked. Mr. Brown, please, just look at the crib. There's a wedge tilting the mattress. It's been pressing into him every night. That's why his back. Enough. Michael's voice was ice. You don't get to come into my home and accuse my staff of hurting my son. I'm not accusing, I'm showing you. Jessica held up her phone, hands trembling. I have photos. Just look. Michael turned his back. I don't need to see anything. Evelyn has been caring for children for 30 years. You've been here 3 weeks. But his spine. Get out. Jessica's breath caught. What? You're done. Leave your key on the counter. Evelyn stood behind him, arms crossed, face smooth and certain. She'd already won. Jessica looked between them, desperate. Please. Please just let a doctor see him. Out. Now. Jessica walked to the front door, legs numb, the world tilting under her feet. Behind her, Noah's cries started again from the nursery, sharp, pained, desperate. She stopped. Turned. But Michael had already disappeared into his office, and Evelyn stood at the bottom of the stairs like a guard. Jessica left. She sat in her car outside the gate, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. She stared at her phone, at the photos still saved in her camera roll. The wedge. The tilt. The bruise on Noah's tiny leg. Her own phone buzzed. A text from her mom, Malik's asking when you'll be home. We're low on groceries. Jessica's eyes burned. She thought about rent due in 5 days. About her son's inhaler prescription. About how fast everything falls apart when you lose a paycheck. She pulled up a number, CPS hotline, and called. The voice on the other end was patient but firm. Without medical documentation, it's very difficult to intervene in a private home. Especially with a family like that. Do you have a doctor's report? No. Then we'd recommend you report your concerns, but be prepared, it could take weeks to investigate, and without proof. Jessica ended the call. Her hands were shaking. If you've ever said someone should do something, this is where those words stop being easy. This is where it becomes a choice. Stay with this story, because what happens next isn't about being brave. It's about refusing to look away when everyone else already has. Jessica sat in the silence, staring at her GPS. She typed in an address. Children's National Hospital. 15 minutes away. Her finger hovered over the screen. Her chest felt like it was caving in. She whispered into the empty car, voice breaking, God, forgive me if this ruins my life. But I can't leave him there. She started the engine. Jessica didn't go home. She circled the block 3 times, hands sweating on the wheel, mind racing through every possible outcome. Then she parked 2 streets over and waited. She still had the key. Evelyn hadn't asked for it back yet. At 2:15 p.m., she watched Evelyn leave through the side gate for her daily walk, punctual as always, headphones in, water bottle in hand. Michael's car wasn't in the driveway. He was downtown for meetings. She'd overheard him mention it that morning. This was the window. Jessica's heart hammered as she slipped through the service entrance near the kitchen. The house was silent. Too silent. She moved quickly, every footstep feeling like thunder on the marble floors. The security cameras blinked red in the corners. The neighbor's dog started barking from the yard next door. She took the stairs 2 at a time. Noah was in his crib, awake, staring at the ceiling. When he saw her, his eyes widened, but he didn't cry. Jessica scooped him up, wrapped him in a soft blanket, and grabbed the diaper bag from the hook by the door. It's okay, baby, she whispered, holding him close. We're gonna get you help. She moved back down the stairs, her pulse roaring in her ears. The front door felt a mile away. Her hands shook as she buckled Noah into the back seat of her car. He whimpered softly, and she reached back to touch his hand. I know, sweetheart. I know it hurts. But we're gonna fix it. I promise. She pulled onto the main road, merging into the lunchtime traffic, crawling through Northwest DC metro buses rumbled past. Delivery trucks honked. The city moved around her like it was just another Tuesday. At a red light near Logan Circle, Jessica closed her eyes for just a second and whispered, God, cover this baby. Please. The light turned green. She drove. Children's National Hospital stood tall and clean against the afternoon sky. Jessica pulled into the emergency bay, lifted Noah out carefully, and walked through the automatic doors. The nurse at the intake desk looked up with a kind smile. "Hi there. What's going on today?" Jessica's voice was steady, but her hands weren't. "He's been crying every night. His back is curving. There's a bruise on his leg. I think something's been hurting him." The nurse started typing. "Okay. And you are?" Jessica hesitated. I work for his family." "What's his name?" "Noah Brown." The nurse's fingers paused on the keyboard. Her eyes flicked up. "Brown." "Yes." The nurse stood, her smile tighter now. "Just have a seat for a moment, okay? We'll get him looked at." Jessica sat in the waiting area, Noah still in her arms. She watched the nurse speak quietly to someone at the desk. Another staff member picked up a phone. Then the sliding doors opened. 2 security guards walked in. Then a police officer. And then Michael Brown. Michael stormed across the lobby, his face twisted with rage and something else. Fear, shame, panic all tangled together. "Where is my son?" The officer stepped forward. "Mr. Brown, we're sorting this out." She took him. Michael pointed at Jessica, his hand shaking. "She took my child out of my home without permission. I want her arrested. Now." Jessica stood slowly, Noah still in her arms, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mr. Brown, please. You don't get to speak." His voice cracked. "You don't get to take my son and pretend you were helping." The security guard moved closer. "Ma'am, you're going to need to hand over the child." Jessica's arms tightened instinctively. Noah whimpered against her shoulder. "Mr. Brown." A calm voice cut through the chaos. Everyone turned. A woman in a white coat stepped into the waiting area, tablet in hand, her expression steady and professional. "I'm Dr. Natalie Reed, Pediatric Orthopedics. I've just examined Noah." Michael's jaw clenched. "I didn't authorize." "You didn't need to. She brought him in with legitimate medical concerns, and we're required to assess." Dr. Reed glanced at the tablet, then back at Michael. "Your son has a developing spinal curve, early-stage scoliosis, and repeated soft tissue trauma consistent with chronic pressure against a hard or uneven surface." The room went silent. Michael's face went pale. "What?" Dr. Reed turned the tablet toward him. The X-ray showed Noah's tiny spine, curved slightly but unmistakably to the left. "This doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of sustained positional stress, most commonly caused by improper sleep surfaces or prolonged tilted positioning." Jessica's breath hitched. She'd been right. Dr. Reed continued, her voice firm but not unkind. "If this had continued for another few months, you'd be looking at bracing, physical therapy, possibly corrective surgery. Someone brought him in before it became irreversible." Michael stared at the screen, his mouth open, words gone. Dr. Reed gestured toward Noah, still in Jessica's arms. "May I?" Jessica handed him over carefully. The doctor held Noah under the light, turning him gently so Michael could see, the tilted shoulder, the way his back curved when he sat, the dark bruise on his thigh shaped like a ridge. Michael's hands came up to his mouth. His eyes filled. I didn't know." "Most parents don't," Dr. Reed said quietly. "Not until someone notices." She paused, then asked the question that would crack everything open. "Mr. Brown, who sets up your son's crib every night?" Michael's face went slack. His eyes shifted, not to Jessica, not to the officer, but somewhere distant, somewhere inside his own house. He whispered one name. "Evelyn." Michael called Evelyn from the hospital hallway, his hand gripping the phone so tight his knuckles went white. She answered on the second ring, her voice smooth and unbothered. "Mr. Brown, is everything all right? Why is there a wedge under Noah's mattress?" Silence. "Mr. Brown, Answer me." Evelyn's tone shifted, controlled and measured. "It was for his comfort. He has reflux. The elevation helps him sleep." The doctor said it's been damaging his spine. No, that's not possible. I've been doing this for 30 years. It's a standard practice for. Then why was it shoved so tight? Why does it keep going back even when it's removed? Another pause. Longer this time. I don't know what you're implying. Michael's voice cracked. I'm implying that my son has been in pain for months, and you told me he was fine. Mr. Brown, children cry. It's normal. His spine is curving, Evelyn. The line went quiet. Then Evelyn's voice came back, colder now. I did what I thought was best. If you're unhappy with my care, that's your decision to make. Michael closed his eyes. You're done. Pack your things. I want you out tonight. He ended the call. Back in the exam room, Michael stood against the wall, staring at Noah as Dr. Reed went over the next steps. Physical therapy twice a week, a new sleep surface, close monitoring for the next 6 months. Michael wasn't really listening. He was watching his son, seeing him for the first time in months. I stopped looking at him, he said quietly, almost to himself. Dr. Reed glanced up. I'm sorry. Michael's voice broke. After my wife died, every time I looked at Noah, I saw her. So I stopped. I let someone else handle it because I couldn't, his breath hitched. I thought I was protecting myself. But I was abandoning him. Dr. Reed's expression softened. Grief does that. But you're here now. Michael nodded, but the shame didn't lift. He turned to the officer still standing by the door. I'm not pressing charges. The officer frowned. Sir, she took your child without. She saved him. Michael's voice was firm now. I'm not pressing charges. The officer hesitated, then nodded and left. Jessica sat in a plastic chair near the window, arms wrapped around herself, exhausted and terrified and ready for whatever came next. Michael walked over slowly, like he didn't know how to stand in front of her anymore. I'm sorry. Jessica looked up, surprised. I should have listened. I should have, he stopped, searching for words. You saw him. When no one else would. When I wouldn't. Jessica's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. Michael swallowed hard. I know I can't undo what happened. But Noah, he trusts you. And I don't think I can do this alone. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Come back. Not as the help. As someone who actually sees him. Jessica stared at him, her mind spinning. She didn't answer. Not yet. 3 months later, the house felt different. Sunlight poured through the tall windows the same way it always had, but now there was laughter in the hallways. Noah's laughter, small and surprised, like he was still learning what joy felt like. Jessica sat on the floor of the living room, watching Noah stack blocks with his physical therapist. His posture had straightened. Slowly, carefully, but it was happening. His shoulder didn't sit so high anymore. His back didn't curve when he reached for things. He smiled now. A real smile. The therapist looked up at Jessica. He's doing great. Really great. Jessica's chest swelled. She whispered a quiet thank you, to the therapist, to God, to whoever was listening. Michael was different too. He came home earlier now. He sat on the floor during Noah's bedtime, reading stories in a voice that was still learning how to be gentle. He asked questions. What did Noah eat today? Did he nap well? Did he laugh? He was learning his son. Finally. One evening, as Jessica prepared to leave, Michael stopped her in the hallway. I'm starting something, he said. A foundation. Free sleep safety screenings for families in D.C. partnering with Children's National and a few community clinics. Jessica's throat tightened. That's really good, Mr. Brown. It's what Maria would have wanted. His voice was quiet. I couldn't save her. But maybe I can make sure other kids don't suffer the way Noah did. He paused. None of this happens without you. Jessica nodded, her eyes burning. I'm just glad he's okay. Jessica's life had stabilized too. Malik's inhaler prescription was filled on time now. The rent was paid. The crushing weight of wondering if she'd make it through the month had lifted, just enough to breathe. She sat in her car one evening, staring at the mansion through the rearview mirror, and thought about everything that had happened. God didn't place her there for comfort. He placed her there for courage. And somehow, she'd found it. If this story stirred something in you, if it made you feel anything at all, stay close. Subscribe. Share this. Because people like Noah don't get saved by algorithms or viral moments. They get saved when ordinary people refuse to look away. When someone decides that doing the right thing matters more than keeping the peace. Be that person. The world needs more of you. Late one night, Jessica's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She almost didn't answer. It was nearly 10 p.m., and Noah had just fallen asleep upstairs. But something made her pick it up. Ms. Davis. The voice was calm, professional, unfamiliar. Yes. My name is Dr. Ellison. I'm a pediatrician at a clinic in Bethesda. I heard about what you did for the Brown family. Jessica's heart started beating faster. We just saw a patient today. 18 months old. Same symptoms. Same posture issues. Same kind of pressure marks. The doctor paused. We checked the home. Different family. Same crib setup. The baby's already curving. Jessica's hand tightened around the phone. She looked across the room. Michael stood in the doorway, car keys already in his hand. He'd heard. Their eyes met. He nodded. Jessica spoke into the phone, her voice steady. Where? This wasn't the only child.